direct variation and constant of proportionality. When we're talking about direct variation, we're always going to use this equation here, y equals kx, where k is the constant of proportionality. It's also the same thing as slope in case you get confused. So example 1 says the value of y varies directly with x. Write a function that represents the relationship between x and y if y equals 46 when x equals 8. What is the constant of proportionality? So there's actually two different parts to this problem. They want us to write a function, or basically an equation that represents a relationship between x and y, but they also want to know what is the constant of proportionality. So they want to know what is k. And in order for us to write y equals kx, we have to find that k. So if y equals k times x, if you want to find k, you can simply divide by x on both sides. And that means that k is equal to y divided by x. And they're giving you y is 46 and x is 8. And if you were to type that in the calculator, (46) divided by 8 is actually 23/4, but we want to change that to a decimal, so we're going to go menu, 2 for number, and then 1 for convert to decimal. And that A and S means it's pulling the answer from above and changing it into a decimal. We're going to hit enter, and it's 5.75. So here, k equals 5.75. And in order to write, now we want to write the equation, but we know that y equals k times x is the way that you would write that equation. So if y equals k times x is the way you write the equation, and you know k is 5.75, you would just say y equals, and instead of k, you would put 5.75x. So our two answers are k equals 5.75 and y equals 5.75x. And none of those numbers should be capitalized. So k equals 5.75 and y equals 5.75x. Example 2. The table shows the height for a cherry tree for different number of days. Which direct variation equation represents the relationship between height and number of days? We talked about how to find constant of proportionality or slope, which is the same thing as the constant of proportionality, same thing as slope. If it's the constant of proportionality, that means it must be proportional. The way that we check if it's proportional is the same way we find k, y divided by x. So if you check each one of these by doing y divided by x, so 1 divided by 2 is 1/2. 2.5 divided by 5. If you type that in the calculator, it's going to give you 0.5, but that is 1/2. And then 6 divided by 12 simplifies to 1/2. So every single time you do y divided by x in this table, you're getting that the constant of proportionality is 1/2. Remember, y equals kx. So y equals 1/2 x, which is answer choice A. So that's it for example 2. We can go to the next slide for example 3. It says if y is directly proportional to x and y equals 8 when x equals 10, what is the value of y when x equals 15? So there's two different ways that we can solve this problem. And I'm actually going to show you both ways. The first way is by using the fact that k is equal to y divided by x, which in this case they gave us y is 8 when x is 10. So we do 8 divided by 10. And that equals or simplifies to 0.8. So our equation is y equals 0.8x. That is our guide to every other set of points on our line. So if they're asking what is the value of y when x is 15, the way we would find that is by doing y equals, if you want to know what is y when x is 15, you just do 0.8 times x, which is 0.8 times 15. And 0.8 times 15 is 12. The alternative way to solve this problem is that you would set up a box and tail because it's proportional. A box and tail will also work. And you have x and y. It's telling you y is 8 when x is 10, so you keep those lined up. Y is 8 when x is 10. What is the value of y? So y is the question mark when x is 15. And of course, you should remember from last year, if you have a box and tail, you cross multiply the two numbers. And so the numbers that are diagonal from each other are 15 and 8. So you would do 15 times 8. And then once you get that answer, you divide by that other number left over. So then you divide by 10. And 15 times 8 divided by 10 is 12. So either way you work this problem, the answer is y equals 12 when x equals 15. That can also be represented as 15 comma 12. So that's example 3. If we continue on to example 4, it says a car drives 283.5 miles in 4.5 hours. Assuming that the distance traveled varies directly with the time traveled, how far will the car travel in 7 hours? Since this is a proportional or constant proportionality problem, again, we can do this problem two different ways, and I'm going to show both ways. The first way is that we know k is equal to y divided by x. We have to decide which one is x and which one is y if we have miles and hours. The distance you travel changes as the time goes along. So that means x is hours and y is miles. So you would do 283.5 divided by 4.5. So k is equal to 63 miles per hour. So our equation is y equals 63x, because remember it's y equals kx. So it's y equals 63x. So to answer the question, how far will the car travel in 7 hours? Remember, hours is x. So instead of x, we can say y is equal to 63 times the 7 hours. 63 times 7 is 441. And they're asking how far, so that means it would be 441 miles. Again, if you prefer the box and tail method, you can set up a proportion and you have miles or y, and you have hours or x, and it says 283.5 miles in 4.5 hours. And then you have how far, so question mark for miles, in 7 hours. And you can cross multiply 283.5 times 7, and then divide by that third number, so divide by 4.5, and you would still get 441. So the answer to the question is 441 miles in 7 hours, or you could do 7 comma 441. You do have an assignment, so if you have questions, you can contact your teacher or even rewind this video to replay some of the problems.